we are going to call the meeting to order at 6:41. In attendance here in the room is Suzanne, Mark, and Charlie from the board, as well as Barry Cade. For visitors, on the Zoom, I've got Sue Wilson, Scott, looks like Debbie. Hi, Debbie. There's a Suzanne on the Zoom too. Could I get an acknowledgement of Suzanne?
Suzanne Pelletier.
Thank you, thanks.
Yeah.
And then I've got a phone number on the Zoom as well, 802-327-3366. If you could just identify yourself for the minutes, that'd be great. And to come off mute, is it *7 or *8 on the phone? I can't recall.
Charlie, can you record this?
Yeah, yep. All right, well, if the person on the phone wants to come off mute and identify yourselves at some point, that'd be great, just so we have a record for the meeting minutes.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so we're calling the meeting to order at 6:42. Thanks for bearing with us with the technical difficulties. First order of business is to review and make any changes to the agenda. Do we have any changes or additions to make to the agenda?
I have none.
Okay, hearing none, we'll move to item 2. This is the approval of the November 15th meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as written?
I'll make a motion to approve the November minutes as written.
Great, we have a motion from Suzanne. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second from Mark. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, we will vote. Because this is a hybrid meeting and Emily is on Zoom, this will be a roll call vote. So we'll start in the room. Suzanne?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Charlie? Aye. Emily?
Aye.
An aye from Emily. Great. The ayes have it. Unanimous approval of the minutes. Great. That brings us to item 3, Public Works. First up, roads and bridges. Mark, do you have any grant or project updates for this evening?
I just have the Better Back Roads grant I've been working on. Hopefully get that submitted soon. And then projects is pretty much trying to keep the roads clear.
Yep.
And keep the equipment running.
Great. So I know the small truck was down for a day or so. Is that back up?
No, it isn't. I'm waiting for a part. The auger motor started leaking a lot of hydraulic fluid, so hopefully we're going to have it in the next couple days, the new motor. And then we had to get a part for Scott's truck, the controller for the sand. This sander was not working properly anymore, so we had to. That's actually came today. So
Okay, and that's under warranty, right? That's still under warranty because it's.
I'm not sure because that's part of the snowplow part,
okay.
not the truck. So I'm not sure. I can look into it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
How has plowing been going so far with new team, new routes?
It's been fine.
Yeah?
Yeah. Everything. Just get the bugs out of the equipment, and we'll be in better shape.
Great.
So since my truck is down, I've been trying to ride with the other guys to learn their routes and see how they're doing. So in case I have to jump in one of those trucks. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for all you guys are doing out there, early morning, late at night.
Yeah.
Long days. Great. Anything else under roads and bridges for this evening?
I don't think so.
All right.
Yeah.
If not, we'll move on to buildings and grounds. There's no update on anything from the 98 Main Street location. Still haven't heard anything back from USPS regarding the email that we sent and the lease coming due within the next year. So we'll wait to hear from them at some point, hopefully. Item 2 here is just an update on the PSB Renovation Committee. So at the last meeting, the committee met with Michael Duggan, who was the original architect for the building. He did a walkthrough and discussed the plans that the committee was kind of vetting. It all went very well. He's going to make new copies of the floor plans for the committee so that they're much closer to scale, so the committee can work on those. Aaron is going to look into requirements on bidding so we can start to get things lined up for that process as we want to move forward with the actual work. Michael Duggan is going to get in touch with the Division of Fire Safety to begin a dialogue with them around the requirements there for any renovations. Were you at the meeting?
No, I wasn't.
No? Okay. You weren't there either, were you?
No.
Okay.
No.
So that's the update we've got from the committee, so things are moving forward.
Oh, good.
There. Anything else under buildings and grounds anyone's got?
No.
Yes, Sue.
His name is Michael Dugan.
Dugan, not Duggan, Dugan.
Okay.
Great, thank you, Sue. Great. Only other buildings and grounds thing is that I did talk with Artie last week, and he's going to move a lift over to the Grange Hall, I think, as soon as we get some nice weather. And I've got about 600 feet of Christmas lights in the back of my truck, and so we're going to try to light up that tree out in front of the Grange Hall again.
Okay. Okay.
It's been like 6 years, I think, since we've had that tree lit up. So
Oh, okay.
if we can get a good stretch of weather, we'll get the lights up and we'll get the big tree lit again.
Okay.
So that should be happening soon. Fingers
Yeah.
crossed. Almost glad we didn't put them up this weekend because they'd probably be blowing all the way to Richford by now with the winds that we're getting.
Yes, yeah.
Great. If there's nothing else under buildings and grounds, we'll move on to Water Commission. Any updates on system work there, Mark?
Yes, we've got filter A repaired. The actuators were causing some problems, and looks like I need to get a couple new actuators. We've had to replace some of them already, so I've got to get a couple more, but it is running again. And then the pump at the pump station, we just need to pull it out, and then I've got somebody that can rebuild it, so we'll get that done right off.
This is the pump station, which pump station?
118 by the school. Yeah, there's a pump leaking there, and I finally tracked somebody down so that we can get it repaired.
Great.
So.
Anything else under Water Commission, or the updates?
No, I just submitted the monthly report to the state, so.
Awesome. Great. I guess we'll move on to item 2 under Water Commission. This is the Reagan Road Pump Station project. We did get an estimate at the last meeting from Doug for the electrical work. That was
Yeah.
about $6,000. We have gotten an estimate from the co-op for their part of the project. That came in about $10,400.
Yeah.
Give or take. So right now we're looking at around $16,500 as far as the estimates go. Are there any other estimates that we're going to be waiting on?
No, that should be it.
Are we going?
Yeah.
Are we boring at all, or
No.
we're not going to bore?
No,
We're going to go
no,
over it?
it's gonna go, there's gonna be a pole and like to the middle of the road, halfway they'll have a pole and then the
Okay.
line will come down the pole. Then we go underground. Well, yeah, we probably will need an excavator. So probably another about 1,500 for an excavator.
Okay.
To dig the trench to the site.
Okay.
So, and yeah, so then that should be probably it.
Okay, great. So
Yeah.
now that we've got all the estimates in, save for the little excavation one, I will send these up for review to the woman who's running the ARPA help desk at VLCT, just to
Okay.
get her eyes on the work and ensure that that would work under the ARPA
Okay.
framework for the use of funds. I think it should, but I'd like to get her take on it first. And then we can look to move forward with it. When she gives us the green light, the board will have to then kind of vote to actually move forward with formally doing it, but that'll get us all of our ducks in a row. If we were to approve this at our next meeting in December, at this point, are we looking at spring anyway for doing this, or would they be able to do this work?
They could do some this winter.
They could?
Kind of fill it, yeah, that's
Okay.
what Evan said.
Okay.
But then we gotta get to easements too, for the
Yes.
property owners.
Yep, and I've got all the information here for this, so I'll fill this out.
So they'll need it for both sides of the road, because one pole will be halfway up Reagan Road, and then the next pole is, it will be across the road to support the other pole.
Okay,
But the same owners own both sides of the road, but there might be a different parcel ID on the other side, I'm not sure.
so the,
Yeah,
coming up the Reagan Road,
there'll be an,
it's Benoche on the west side and Lackner Graybeal on the right side.
yeah.
So we'll need an easement from Benoche and from Lackner Graybeal.
No, I don't think so.
No,
No, because it'll be on, the Lacter Graybill, the one,
Lackner Graybill surrounds the town's property
okay,
on that side of the road.
yeah.
So the only easement we're gonna need is an easement from them for the
Yeah.
new pole?
From them and then the owners that own right across from Reagan Road.
Oh, across from Reagan Road. I thought you meant Reagan, oh yeah, okay, so same.
Going up
same-
Reagan Road
yeah,
on the
same-
left.
Same,
Same people.
Across.
Own both sides of the road, I believe.
well, coming up Reagan Road, on the east side, it's Lackner Graybill, on the west side, it's Benoche.
Yeah, we
So
won't-
if you look at this.
We won't need one for Benoche. We'll just need,
So we're gonna sink a
Lackner
pole
Graybill.
there and a pole down here somewhere?
okay, let me see. So there'll be a pole right here.
Okay.
Then there'll be a pole across the road over here.
So there'll be a pole
So-
on the other side,
Yeah.
on Lackner Graybill as
Yeah.
well. Okay,
So I think it's all Lackner, yeah, we won't need one from Benoche.
okay. Should I get our attorney to start drafting that paperwork?
I think that's it. Is that it right here?
Oh, they
mean-
draft that stuff. The co-op will get that drafted for us?
Yeah, that's a copy of what they need right there.
What they need, okay, great.
Yeah.
Then I'll
Yeah.
get them all that information tomorrow then.
Yeah, yeah, I believe that's, yeah.
Okay,
Then
Great.
once this is signed by, then we're all set.
okay,
We
awesome.
just have to have the parcel ID numbers and everything. that are
Okay,
correct.
great.
Yeah,
All right, well, I'll get working on that so that we can get that moving.
yeah.
Great. So we'll get that stuff taken care of, get the kind of green light about the ARPA stuff, and then the board can make a formal decision at our next meeting to move forward with that. Awesome. Cool. Only other item under Public Works was the Longley Bridge tap project, and there's no updates at this time on that one. Things are kind of just
Yeah.
waiting until spring
Yeah.
to move forward with that.
Yeah.
So, with that, we're through Public Works. The next item on the agenda is visitors. And so, we can move to visitors now. We typically go in the order folks joined the meeting. So I believe that Scott Perry was the winner of first on the Zoom. Although I should say, Scott, Barry was actually in the room before you were on the Zoom call.
I don't have anything.
Okay, so Barry is deferring,
Okay.
and so Scott, if you want to go for it, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Charlie, and members of the board. You may remember a long time ago and far away, we started talking about maybe seeing if we could help you leverage some money from the preservation community for things that needed to be done to the Grange or the town hall. And happy to report that as part of that process, at least working with the Preservation Trust of Vermont, is before they want to give out any money for preservation stuff, they wanted to make sure that places are eligible. So what we had done was kind of asked if you guys were interested, that the Historical Society would go ahead and pursue getting the eligibility determination. That was about a year ago, I think, and I can happy to report that the state has deemed the building eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places. It, just if you didn't know, it started out as a congregational church. It became a theater when the congregational church lost its congregation and merged with the Baptist church. It then was sold to the Grange in the 1950s, and the Grange gave it or donated it to the town in the late 1970s. It would be eligible under its designation would be as the Crescent Theater, because some of its architectural features are still kind of preserved in the building. That is kind of the precursor to a number of things that would happen next. And the Historical Society stands ready to support any efforts you might want to make. One of the things that probably would be appropriate would be to have an evaluation done. You can get grant money from Preservation Trust to do that, but that will bring in a historic architect, and they will write a report and kind of identify things that need to be done. And that's good to have in hand, because when you get around to actually trying to get money to do the project, it shows you've done your homework. Sometimes they'll ask to do a technical report, and again, that is usually funded in part by the Preservation Trust as well. We did 2 of those, and I know the Baptist Church folks did theirs as well. And the grants are basically a $500 match and $1,000 total to get those kind of things, those documents done. The next step would be, and this would be mandatory if you were even if you were just going to go forward and try to get a project and a grant without doing that, is the actual nomination that has to be done to the National Park Service, which is the daddy rabbit for the National Register of Historic Places. Those need to be done by someone that's qualified. In the case of the Baptist Church, I think we offered to pay for it in the Historical Society, but we found a graduate student that actually did it as part of her thesis, so it didn't really cost anything. I'm told now that Preservation Trust of Vermont actually will give you, if you say you want to be on the National Register, they will actually fund it and put you in and basically run the project, but you've got to formally ask that. If you were to get a grant or apply for a grant, they would insist that you simultaneously apply to the National Register anyway, at least for the Paul Groom grant. But the good news is that if you say yes, they will take care of it for you.
Great.
And then the next thing would be that once you've identified what you need to do and the work you want to do, would be to apply for the grants. And I know Suzanne, we did that very successfully for the Montgomery Center for the Arts and the Old Baptist Church. And that's a place that we've been able to get money successfully for Pratt Hall. Although I'll tell you that the grants money they have now are probably an order of magnitude greater than what we've done with Pratt Hall. Suzanne, did you get 50 or 60,000?
50.
Remember, did you get 50?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's money there, but again, you kind of have to make a commitment to treating that as a historic building that's worthy of preservation. You're not going to be able to turn it into something that it's not, I guess. So that's kind of what we see in the Historical Society. Stands ready to help where we can, but we're not outfitted enough to take lead on any of that stuff. So the other thing I would just want to let you know is, as part of doing the research for that, for the eligibility determination, which Sue and I did, we leaned on a 1983 survey that was done by the state of Vermont for the whole state. The Montgomery one was 1983, and the purpose was to identify structures and areas and things that were eligible or potentially eligible for being treated as historic buildings or areas. The Montgomery report, I'll show you, is right here. You see it's like the size of a...
Wow.
There are 3 historic districts that they identified. One is in the village, 2 are in the center. One is very narrowly defined, and that's what they call the west end of Montgomery Center. It's the larger of the mill buildings that are down there. That are, if you're going out of town towards the village on the left-hand side as you're going around by the cemetery. And then the other part is kind of the rest of Montgomery Center that we know. there are 55 structures in addition to those 3 districts that were identified back in 1983. Some of the structures don't exist anymore, and of all of those, the only one that is publicly owned is the town hall. So I wanted to let you know that, but we hope to have that whole thing posted online. Right now, we have the portions that I identified or define the historic districts that are online on the Historical Society website. But we wanted to get back to you, let you know that we were successful in at least getting that building determined to be eligible, and then we kind of pass the baton to y'all in terms of leading and just figuring out what you wanted to do, and if you don't have to go down that road if you don't want, but it's an option. So you have that option now, and it's probably better defined than it would have been otherwise.
Great. So just to kind of recap, the next steps here would be to apply for assistance from the Preservation Trust of Vermont to help essentially execute the next steps in getting the designation done, which would include the assessment, technical report.
Right, they're called planning grants. And what we did, for example, at Pratt Hall, they sent an architectural historian to Pratt Hall who went all through the building and documented stuff and gave us some ideas. And then as a result of that, they said, well, we really think you need a technical report from a timber framer. And so we got another $500 grant that we had to match and had a technical report done. And he came in and basically identified some structural aspects of the building that needed attention, kind of thing. And then we used those 2 reports then in our follow-on, actually 2 different grants, both from the State for Historic Preservation and from Preservation Trust of Vermont, to actually do the work. One was compared to the base of the tower, and the other was the West Wall project, kind of thing. So that was the process that we used. Obviously, we were already on the National Register of Historic Places, and when the Baptist Church and MCA folks did theirs, they were already listed on the National Register, so they didn't have to do that. But there'd be an extra thing there that you'd have to do kind of right as you're getting ready to go forward. And I know there are problems with that building that probably need to be addressed just from my history with it. So some that may not be preservation related at all, but I think the technical report or a historical architectural report would help identify some of that stuff so you know what you're dealing with.
Great. Well, that's great. So I can reach out to Ben Doyle or whoever in his shop would kind of take the lead on this, but to get an idea of kind of the next steps to apply there and can bring that to our next meeting. So really appreciate.
We have a lot of success with them because they've kind of refocused a little bit at Preservation Trust to especially facilities that have a community aspect.
Yeah.
And that building is like in the heart, really the heart of what they're trying to do, I think, from both a preservation and a community enhancement perspective. So,
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
receptive audience.
Anybody on the board have any questions for Scott?
No, thanks for doing that and getting it going, Scott.
And Charlie, you got a copy of the letter from the state, right, and as well as the write-up?
I believe it was in the email that you sent, right?
Yeah.
From Devin Coleman.
Yep.
That's who we were dealing with.
Yep. Great.
And the full room grants can be up to $100,000.
Yeah. Which is great.
The timeline for those, that they're, I think, there's also a grant called the 772 grant, which is actually does mundane things like paint, which was great for us. And so the timelines on those are basically in the fall, December, January, February timeframe is when the applications are submitted. So, and we're past, I think, most of those deadlines, although I think maybe the room grant is 15 December for this year, but I think
That's exactly.
unless there's something crucial, looking at that maybe for next year and trying to do some of the interim stuff before you get there.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
No, that sounds great. So we'll keep the ball moving on this, and we'll keep the Historical Society informed of progress. And like I said, we'll bring this up at our next meeting for next steps for the board action. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Scott, and everybody else.
Yes.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, thank you.
Moving down the line, Sue, I think you were the next one to join the meeting. Anything for visitors?
No, I was here with Scott for the historic.
Great, thanks.
Oh, and thank you for the Mark and his crew for the flags of the wreaths,
Oh, yeah, you will.
banners and wreaths.
Did I get them all in the right spots? Okay.
All right, great, thanks, Sue. Next up, I think Debbie or Deborah, I think you were the next one to join the meeting, so feel free to come off mute and the floor is yours.
I was just joining to express my opinion about no mask mandate, so I can wait till that comes up on the agenda if you want, or?
Yeah, that'd be great, and we'll probably move into that. If most of the visitors are here for that, we might move into that next, so we can get to that. So, yeah, if that's it, if that's all you have for visitors, then if you want to hold, we'll get to that.
I want to thank all of you for everything that you do for the town. So thank you. I know it's a lot of hard work that you put in.
Great, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Suzanne, I think you were the next one to join the Zoom meeting, so the floor is yours if you want to take it.
I'm ditto with Deborah. I'm just here for the mask. I'm not interested in having masks taken over business, but I'll just hang on and wait.
Okay, thanks so much. Sharon, feel free to come off mute and the floor is yours.
Same with me. I'm just here to listen in about the mask mandates.
Okay, great, thanks Sharon.
Hey, Mark.
Hi, Sharon.
And then we do have an individual on the phone still. This is the 327-3366 number, and so if whoever's on the phone would like to come off mute, please feel free to do so. I believe it's either *7, *8, or *9 to come off mute. Okay, well if you do get that to work, feel free to come off mute at any time once that works for you if you'd like to. If not, feel free to just hang out and listen. So since the majority of our visitors are here around the what would be item 6A under new business, if there's no objection, we can move to that. Hearing none. So this is on the agenda because the legislature passed S1, which grants the municipal authority to pass ordinances that would require face coverings. Essentially, if municipalities want to put mask mandates back into effect, we can do so. And the ordinance could be something about everywhere. It could be businesses. It could be written, as Barry and I were discussing, kind of in a sort of different way, where if a business has a mask mandate and an individual does not put a mask on and refuses to leave, the ordinance could be written so that that person would be in violation of the ordinance. So there's different ways that you could go about putting this into place. I guess the first thing I'd like to do is just go around on the board, and if it's okay with board members, just get kind of a straw poll or take the temperature of the room as to whether or not there's any desire to act on this. You know, we were given the authority to do this, but it does not mean that we have to do it. So I'll open the floor up to board members to weigh in on where their heads are at.
I'm not particularly driven to apply a mask mandate for this town.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think, people want to wear a mask, they're fine, but
Yeah.
we shouldn't mandate it. I mean, I think we're fine, going fine without it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully everybody on the call heard that. I think the mics are good at picking this stuff up. Did you guys hear that? Okay. Okay. Great. Thanks. Emily, if you want to come off mute and weigh in on this, feel free to.
I think that people that are going to wear masks are going to wear masks. Those that aren't are not going to, whether there's a mandate in place or not. I think that ultimately putting a mandate in place will be divisive in the town, and while I think that the science stands behind masking, controlling the spread of the virus, I don't necessarily think that it's going to make a difference whether we do that in our town, so that's sort of where my head is at.
Okay, thanks, Emily, and thanks, Penny, for weighing in on that one.
Yeah, she has lots.
She has lots of thoughts on everything, I imagine. Great. All right, well, I concur with the board. I'm not really, in a position where I want to move forward with any kind of a mask mandate or an ordinance at this time. So given that, I think that if we want to be formal about this, I would make a motion to essentially table this issue, which would just lay it on the table for an indefinite period of time until the board decided to come back to it.
I would second that motion.
Charlie?
Yes, Barry.
I think a couple of people said that they were here for that issue. I think you should give them the opportunity to be heard.
Sure, yeah, I guess, since the motion's been made and seconded, we'll move to discussion. At this point, if anybody on the call would like to weigh in with any additional thoughts, given where the conversation is headed at this time, feel free to come off mute and jump in.
I agree with what you folks were just saying, that I feel strongly that everybody should choose what's best for them and that we not have any more government mandates. If a business obviously wants to, put up a, you must wear mask sign, that's up to the business and people can decide how they feel about that. But I just feel like we're starting to live again as a community, and personally, I love seeing people's smiling faces again, and, if something changes, then that's that, but I feel quite strongly about agreeing with you folks, no mask mandate. Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie. If anybody else wants to come off mute and weigh in on this one, feel free to at this time.
I just want to, pardon me, I just want to thank you for your common sense.
Great, thanks, Sharon.
Suzanne here, and ditto. Thank you for having common sense. And I think a small town, small businesses already work super hard to make profit and make money, and anything that stands in the way of that is probably not necessary.
Great, thanks, Suzanne. Barry, anything from the room?
Just that I think you should invite input from local businesses as to whether they would want the town backing them up if they choose to require masks.
Okay.
And also, I'm 77, which is hard for me to believe, therefore considered vulnerable. But if I'm concerned, I'll put on my mask.
Great. Well, thanks, everybody. Great. So if there's no other discussion on the motion, we'll call the question. It'll be a roll call vote. Emily, we'll start with you.
Aye.
Aye from Emily. Suzanne?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Charlie? Aye. The motion carries unanimously. So we've laid this one on the table indefinitely, probably. Great. Getting back to old business. First item on the agenda for old business is just the ARPA appropriations. So as we discussed earlier, it looks like our first project might be this getting power up to the Reagan Road pump station. We'll continue to chase that one down. I actually haven't checked back on the survey results in the past since Thanksgiving, so I will do that again and email the board a summary so you guys can see kind of what's come in since the last time we talked.
Have we also looked into maybe some of that money for remodeling this building? Is that a possibility? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's definitely on the list, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely on the list of projects. We do have I don't have it pulled up here, we do have a running list.
Oh, okay.
So I will pull the survey results back up and email the board the results and the running list that we've got. As far as I know, we haven't had any hard copy surveys come back in, but they are available at the town clerk's office, so if anybody wants to come and fill out a hard copy one, they're available here. Great. So that's it for the ARPA appropriations. Next item here is wastewater and streetscapes projects. So things are still kind of progressing slowly on that front. We have a meeting coming up tomorrow, I think, with some state folks, just to go over some of the flow rate projections we had from the preliminary engineering work, just to make sure that the state was in concurrence with kind of the engineering projections that we'd come up with. Other than that, we are still trying to figure out the funding framework for this. As folks were aware, the congressional designated spending request that we made did get advanced through the committee. That was through Sanders' office. So those funds just need to find an appropriations bill to get attached to and passed. I don't believe any of that was included in the continuing spending resolution that was passed yesterday or the day before. So depending on what Congress decides to do, who knows when those funds could move. So we're waiting on that, and we're still kind of in communications with folks from the state around the different kind of pots of funds they've got to see if we can piece this puzzle together in a way that essentially meets the town's needs as have been projected through the votes we've had about impacts to the tax rate. So that's the update there. We'll give more updates as more information comes. Next up on old business is the municipal website updates. Emily, this was something that I think you were going to take this lead on with Liz to talk to Zach, so I don't know if you want to discuss any of that right now. I don't know if there's any formal action tonight, but if you want to give an update of what you're looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just wanted to sort of feel out the board before moving forward. I have experienced and heard from a lot of people that find our municipal website hard to navigate and not particularly useful. I think that with some redesign, we could move in the direction of it being a place where people go to for information and also a way for people to connect with the select board as opposed to going to social media and complaining and voicing concern there. I think that if our website were more manageable and easy to navigate, we might get more like proactive participation. So I just wanted to see where the rest of the board was at as far as I would like to explore with Liz, Genevieve, and Aaron ways in which we can make the website more useful for them, but also more navigable for the community. And I guess what I'm asking here is, would people on the board be willing to spend some money in order to work with Zach to take on some changes to the website? And maybe it can be ARPA funding.
Wait, so people are complaining on Facebook?
Just generally.
Really?
Instead of, is there a way to
Shocked.
continue on the site?
No, I'm just kidding.
Peace Prize here. I'm gonna move all the complaining off of Facebook for our town.
There we go. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think that sounds great. Yeah, I
do
think
too.
I think everybody's
Yeah.
here is nodding their heads in agreement that there's definitely some tweaks around the interface, around the ease of finding certain things in certain times. So I think definitely, yeah. Suzanne, go ahead, yeah.
Does anybody know who the hosting platform is for our website? It's like GoDaddy or Wix or Weebly or
I have no idea. That's a Zach question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody around the table is nodding here, Emily. So, yeah, I'd say if you want to connect with Zach, with Liz and Genevieve and Aaron, and kind of start to flesh out kind of what it is that we're looking at, and then if Zach can come back with kind of a proposal with a cost estimate, kind of like, I can address these things. It doesn't have to be a detailed like work plan or prospectus, but kind of, here are the things I can do, and here's an estimate of what it'll cost, and then if the board can get that, we can then move on a specific amount of money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will definitely get on that straight away. I will maybe have an update at our next meeting, but definitely by our January meeting, I will have an update for everybody. And is that something, Charlie, do you know off the top of your head? I mean, it seems like it's an accessibility project, so could that fall under ARPA funding?
It very well could. I can run that one up the flagpole too with the VLCT folks and just make sure that that would fly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm even thinking as far as, different committees and organizations within town having, like a permanent Zoom link that they can put on there. And so, therefore, it is, directly related to accessibility for all of our townspeople.
Yeah, 100%.
Is Zach under contract for this work?
So Zach currently, we currently have kind of what's the right way to put it? Like we have him on retainer to do certain things for a certain amount of money, like monthly.
Okay.
As far as overhaul stuff goes, I think that would be kind of a broader project.
Yeah.
But it is a good point. I should double check what the actual text of Zach's agreement is. Not that I have any questions of Zach's work or anything. You raise an interesting question.
I'm just curious.
I really don't know kind of the full scope or whether there's an expiration date because I don't remember signing anything in the past 5 years with Zach. So we might be operating under just kind of an agreement that has been carried forward because both parties have just continued to adhere to it.
Yeah.
Would there be, if there is a major overhaul to the website that could occur, is there a bidding process that we would need to go through in order to open that up to other interested parties?
I don't believe we'd be required to do one. We didn't do it in the past when Zach kind of did the initial overhaul from Scott's original site. I can check into that, but I don't think we'd need to. The only thing that I'd want to check is if we're going to be using ARPA money, that might trigger a requirement under the Davis-Bacon Act that we go through the federal procurement process. But I can figure that out.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, yeah, great. Well, thanks for taking the lead on that, Emily.
Thank you.
Sorry, lost in the agenda. Great, so moving on to the last item under old business. This is the Northwest Communications Union District update. Everett did email an update to the board this afternoon with a summary. Essentially, the Union District is currently finishing its business plan and the high-level engineering design. Those should be done by January. Once that's done, they can make an estimation of the build-out schedule for work, which will include Montgomery. There's significant funding for this, $250 million statewide. USDA also just released some criteria for funds that might actually bring more money into communities for that work. So lots of money floating around at this point. The Union District has been awarded a $1.2 million award for planning and pre-construction work, mostly associated with the initial order of fiber cable so that they can begin construction in the second half of 2022. The pre-construction work is going to happen this spring, mostly inventorying poles, getting them ready for fiber. They think the build-out's going to take 3 to 4 years completely. They don't know where Montgomery fits in that schedule, and they won't until the middle of next year. But state funding does require universal access, meaning every on-grid premises is going to get a broadband connection. The funds also prioritize underserved communities, and right now, basically, unless you live on Main Street, you are drastically underserved when it comes to your access to internet. So hopefully that will kind of elevate things. But we should have a better idea of timing and process by the second half of next year. So things are moving on that front. Any questions or comments from the board? All right, if not, we'll move on to new business. A item here was the face mask ordinance discussion. We've covered that. Item B, this was regarding signage for the Gibu and West Hill. This might have been one of those things that was on Facebook that people were complaining about.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I don't look at that stuff.
It was a bit of complaining.
Yeah. Oddly enough, not one email hit our inbox yet, or one phone call came to the town clerk's office about this, so.
That is really that's really something that I'm hoping we can change with a redesign of the website. I'm really serious about that. I know, like, the Nobel Peace Prize is probably out of my sights, but, like, if people just make us aware of these things, I think we can take care of them.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, posting on Facebook, hey, the sign is, like, down and in the road, like, that, I don't know, it just seems to me like then somebody's gonna go steal it, or, like, 40 people are gonna complain about it and not do a thing about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I feel you.
Yeah.
So anyway, just regarding this specific issue, the concern here is that people are trying to connect from the Gibu to West Hill or the West Hill to Gibu, during winter months and getting stuck up there. And so I've already talked to Mark about ordering some signage. So we will get signage that will go on both ends of that connector that basically lets drivers know that it is not a through travel corridor during winter months. Their GPS is wrong, turn around.
Well, they get to a certain point, they really can't get up in there.
Yeah.
I think some of the issue is, was deer hunting season, and
Yeah.
that usually increases the traffic up there too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that time of year, so.
For the record,
I mean-
I meant to look at this up, but your GPS does not actually send
No.
you over the Gibu.
I don't see how it would.
Mine does once in a while if I plug in
Really?
if I plug in an address at my house that is somewhere down 118 and it thinks I'm taking a left-hand turn out of my driveway, it will send me through the Gibu.
Because I just
Oh, yeah.
did from Belvedere to my house, which is on Creamery Bridge Road, and it sends you down 118 and around.
And around that way,
Yeah.
yeah. So I have seen it happen on my GPS. So I don't know, but apparently it does trigger it sometimes for some people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll get signs up, and then in the
It
future.
probably won't happen, I mean, it
Yeah.
won't go up this year, I mean,
So we'll
Yeah.
order them and we'll get them together. Like Mark said, I mean, within the near future, there's going to be big ass snowbanks
yeah,
that people are going to have to drive over, and at that point, you'd hope that their common sense would kick in.
yes.
Shovel the snowbank.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, it's the same as 58. You put road clotheslines up there and people still try to go through.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But anyway,
I mean,
we'll
They drive right by the signs.
try to calm the masses on Facebook and let them know that
Well,
the town is trying to do something to solve this issue.
yeah.
So, we'll work on that. We've discussed the Grange Hall, Town Hall Grange Hall, under visitors, and there are no overweight truck permits or tobacco or liquor licenses. So with that, we have come to the end of our agenda. If there is a motion to adjourn, we will certainly entertain it.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion from Suzanne. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Mark. So this is going to be a roll call vote on the adjournment.
Thank you, Barry.
Emily,
Good night.
Aye.
Bye, Barry.
Suzanne,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Charlie, aye. You approved unanimously the adjournment of the meeting at 7:30 on the dot. That gives us half an hour to get home and get the Patriots game on.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, everybody.